Hello, everybody. My name's Gracie Gunther. Here's my audience. And before I start my speech, I just wanted to let you know that I do have influenza, so I have a cough drop in so I can make it through the speech without coughing. Okay, here we go. Volleyball was invented by William G. Morgan, and he was an American educator. His acquaintance was actually the inventor of basketball, and he was inspired to make a sport of his own, but he didn't know exactly how to go about it. And an example of this is he made the volleyball from a badminton net and a soccer ball bladder. Crazy, I know. So today I'm here to inform my audience of Com 110 students of volleyball basics. So I will first start with the history of volleyball, then volleyball rules, and then the importance of teamwork when playing volleyball. Now, on to my main points. So my first main point is the history of volleyball. The sport has been around for over more than a century, and as said before, the inventor is William G. Morgan, but it definitely wasn't easy to come up with. Volleyball, I know a century seems like, oh my gosh, a long time, but it definitely wasn't. All these other sports, basketball, tennis, badminton, soccer, softball, baseball, all of these were already invented, so he was like, what am I going to do? Make it a new sport because everything's already thought of, you know? Wrong. So, the use of the ball came from basketball and the net was from tennis. So he was like basically pulling from all these other sports. The use of hands, which is bump, set, spike, was originally from handball. So he pulled that from handball. Before volleyball, the gameplay was played in sets. It used to be played in innings, so that came from baseball and softball. Moral of the story, it came from a lot of different things. According to Olympics.com, Morgan said, in search of an appropriate game, tennis occurred to me, but this required rackets, balls, a net, and other equipment, so it was eliminated. But the idea of a net seemed like a good one. He also said, we raised the net to a height of just above the head of an average man, and we needed a ball, and among those that were already invented, we tried a basketball bladder. It was way too light, didn't work for the game, so that was eliminated. And then they used a basketball, too big, too heavy, didn't work. So due to these realizations, a new ball was designed specifically for the sport in 1990. Fast forward, years later, volleyball was accepted into the YMCA's wide network throughout the USA with a new game, volleyball. So it was originally called Mintonette, but now it's called volleyball. And the sport has traced its origin from basketball, baseball, tennis, handball, and now estimated to be played by over 80 million globally, which is a lot. And I've just discussed my first main point, the origin of volleyball. My second main point is the rules of the game. So even though volleyball was undeveloped at first, the sport really changed and blossomed into an organized activity. There are many rules of volleyball, so I'm only going to touch on some of the very important ones. The most basic one is there's only 6 players on the court. There can't be 2, 1. Don't get me wrong, there are some versions of volleyball, but I'm talking like original volleyball, 6 players on the court. And that means 3 in the front row, 3 in the back row. That's just how rotations work. That's always how it's worked. Usually in the back row, there's a player called a libero. They wear a different jersey. That means they can sub in and out with whoever they please. However, a libero is completely optional. People play without a libero all the time. Another rule that is very important is it's rally scoring. So that means every time there's a serve, there's a point scored. So if it's not like pickleball where if you serve and they mess it up, like you don't get the point. Like every time there's a serve, there's a point scored. And according to theartofcoachingvolleyball.com, another important rule is absolutely no doubles. So a setter is usually using 2 hands. You cannot bounce the ball you can't touch it twice. So if you made the first contact, you can't go hit it again. Another person has to do that for you. And I just have discussed my second main point of the rules of volleyball. And now on to my third point, which is why teamwork is so important in the sport. So as I've said before in my speech, you have to have 6 players on the court. 6, not just 1, 6. This means that you really have to have the ability to work as a unit. In 3 contacts, communication is key. Who's going to pass the ball? Who's going to set the ball? Who's going to hit the ball? What if the ball's hit out of rotation? Things like that. So according to volleyballmastery.com, teamwork in volleyball refers to the combined efforts of individual players working towards a shared goal. Volleyball is often described as a team sport because of the need for players to work collaboratively to achieve a common objective. It is impossible for a single player to win a game alone, as volleyball requires all team members to work in unison and bring their unique skills to the court. Another thing is volleyballs come at you at treacherous speeds, and that makes it very competitive. Mistakes are going to happen just like in any other sport. You need your teammates to lift you up. You need to lift everybody else up. That's just how you guys stay together, stay positive. You're not going to win games if you're being negative. So that's another reason why teamwork is so important. And that was according to volleyballmastery.com. And I've just discussed my third main point, why working as a team in volleyball is extremely important. I have just discussed all my 3 main points: the origin of volleyball, the rules of volleyball, and why teamwork is so important. As I end my speech, I will leave you with this. Vanguard Volleyball says that volleyball is such an enjoyable and rewarding sport. From the physical demands it places on players to the interpersonal skills it encourages, there is a reason why volleyball is so popular amongst young boys and girls. The end.